and standing ovation wherever we are. Please welcome with me to the podium my HR journey, Stephen Afon, Head Human Resource, AfriGlobal Group, mentor and facilitator at Cowrie Scholarship Foundation UK. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Temitokwe Aloba. Sorry, can everyone hear me, please?
I believe so. We can hear you.
Yes. All right. I really want to appreciate you for extending an invite to me to be able to speak to the audience here today. It's a very rare privilege, and I'm not really taking that for granted. And I want to commend you for a job well done regarding the projects that you are doing. For me, we've seen a lot of initiative that the younger ones are doing, and it's so very sad that the Nigerian government that we have today, most of them are just, have refused to be able to, cater for the young ones, and that is where we find ourselves where we are today. Yeah. All right, thank you very much, and a job well done once again. All right, so my name is Stephen Aderemi Afon. I'm basically going to give a brief background about my educational background and how I've been able to start my career right from how many years? Almost about 15 to 16 years now. I will also take you through some of the milestones that I've been able to achieve, and also what I do presently, and some learnings that I feel might be very impacting to some of us that are listening to me today. All right, so I think almost about 15 to 16 years ago, I was posted to Bayelsa for my youth service after graduating from my first degree. But unfortunately, I think after 2 weeks or thereabouts, I had a very terrible accident. It was only God that saved my life. They were really going to amputate my hand and my leg. But as God will have it, we were able to get a good consultant. After I was flown to Lagos, they flew somebody in to come and conduct the surgery for me. So I was on the sick bed for almost about 4 weeks or thereabout, just for me to get back on my feet and all of that. Then, of course, after I left the hospital, then the question was, so what next? But I think out of frustration and annoyance from my siblings and my parents, they felt that Nigeria doesn't want all the troubles, because it was in the course of this youth service thing that had the accident, and honestly there wasn't any form of support from the youth service people or even the government to be able to go to foot the bill. So my parents were like, there's no point sitting in Nigeria. Please come over to UK and pursue your educational pursuit in the UK. So I went there. But honestly, as some of us, which is still very obtainable today, we find ourselves in a situation where everybody just wants to jackpot, because of the very tough economic condition that we find ourselves today. And honestly, to be frank, I'm one of the people that today I kind of encourage people that if you see very exciting opportunities abroad, why not? But however, I left to UK without having a plan. Honestly, I left with a student visa to go study. So by the time I got in there, it was just a starting. I was basically having to start all over again. I enrolled for a course in psychology, which I felt, maybe after graduating from psychology, I'll be able to enroll for some of their works around psychology, right? But there wasn't any specific plan. So it was just more of gamble. Let me just go for a course and all of that, which for me was a big lesson for me today. If I find myself in that kind of situation today, I probably would have done differently. All right. So I went for a course in psychology. That was my second degree. And it was a very tough moment because I mean everybody felt we spent so much for you, paying for your school fees. You need to go fight for yourself as well. Um, of course, the school fees were paid, but however, I have to pay for my living expenses and few other things. At the same time, I had to work just for me to be able to take care of my bills and all of that. But as God will have it, I think shortly before I was about to graduate, I got a job. I mean, some of these good schools in UK, especially if the school is really one of the highly rated one. What happens most time is most of these recruiters, companies come to the school to recruit you, right? So luckily for me, I was able to get a job as an HR executive while I was even on student visa. And I think I got 5 years work permit to be able to work with this particular company. It's a recruitment company. But however, it's a very huge company. Then they have a very huge presence in Canada, in UK, in US, and I think in Paris. I can't really remember and all of that. But I think 1 year into the job, I mean, I can give a brief story that even while schooling, I did quite a number of menial jobs just for me to be able to meet up my expenses and all of that. But one thing keep ringing on my mind when I was doing those midnight jobs. I know this is not me. I mean, I've had to like clean floor also, just as every other person has done. These are jobs I did that my parents were not even aware I was doing. I was doing that kind of job. But I mean, I did that just for me to be able to have a bit of experience of what those other people were going through. How much were they paying me? Maybe 5-6 pounds an hour then. But that was a big money then. Anyway, I got a job. But surprisingly, I think I left the job maybe 1 year into it. I can't really remember. I think I was looking for a more contract job rather than a permanent job, which is more flexible. And most of those jobs really pay more. Which for me I think was a very stupid decision, right? I didn't ask questions. A lot of us make that mistake. We just jump into decision without having mentors to be able to bounce off some of our ideas, and we've seen people really landing in trouble. So I resigned from the job, and I got a job with an intelligence company in the UK. But you know the way the work permit works in the UK, your work permit is tied to a particular employer. You can't, if you have to change job, you have to notify the home office that you've changed job anyway. All right, so I got this fantastic job, extremely very highly paid job. And I felt, yes, finally I've arrived. Um, you could see that a lot of things have changed in the way I even work and all of that, because honestly, at that point, the kind of salary I was earning wasn't the kind of salary I could have envisaged I was going to get at that particular time. But lo and behold, 2 weeks into the job, I can't remember. I think my line manager walked up to or gave a task to me to go and do some photocopies and all of that. But you know the way things are in Nigeria, when photocopy, you probably take your copies to vendors to go and copy for you. And there was this very highly sophisticated machine. I couldn't operate. I couldn't operate it, and I was struggling with it. Right. And this woman walked up to me that, oh, sorry, Stephen, we could see that you're struggling with this job. So we have to let you go. Let me go just because I couldn't operate a machine, and I've already resigned from a job that was paying me, I think the starting salary then was 26,000 pounds. This is almost 15 or almost about 14 years ago. Left that job, and I was like, where do I go from here? I've left a job that sponsored me for my work permit. Yeah, here's a job, another job I got that I felt was very highly paid job. Now they've asked me to go in 2 weeks. Where do I go from? The people that were giving me the manager job, they called me one time. I said, lie, I can never come back to you guys again. Because I felt that level have changed, which was another big lesson. In the process of growing up, in the process of elevate or your career elevation and all of that. Don't forget people that really help you in time of needs and all of that. You don't fight people. You have to learn how to keep very solid relationship with people and all of that. If I kept that relationship, I probably would have gone back to them then that, sorry, I've lost my job. Can you continue to give me? But I couldn't go back to them because I felt I would never need their help any longer, which was a very big lesson for me. So I think I got another job with the NHS. NHS is like the biggest employer of labor in the UK. And very, moderate pay. That was almost about 6 years I've been at home. My rent then was almost about 1,100 minus bill. It was extremely tough. I think it got to a point, my elder brothers would tell me, oh, Stephen, come and stay with us. I said, no, still having that bit of pride. I know I don't want to stay with anybody. Let me go through this. What that taught me was, even in the face of challenges, in the face of very tough situation, you have to stay focused, right? In as much as I was going through a very tough time, one thing I was really very sure of was that wasn't going to be the end of it all, right? I am the type that usually have this positive mindset over things that I do. No matter the obstacle, I have always find my way through all of this. Of course, through the grace of God. All the time, I've never in my life ignored that grace factor in my life. Now, I'm not sounding a bit religious, but honestly, God to an extent has been able to help me in everything I went through. Anyway, I got a job with the NHS. I can't remember whether within the HR department, started picking things up around recruitment, sourcing, how to build CVs and all of that. Then again, the issue came back. I think I can't remember, because I think I got the job through an agency. Before I knew what was happening, the agency have contacted me, that they contacted the Home Office, and the Home Office said that I was not eligible to work with any employer. By the time the Home Office starts interfering with your case, right? And I'm not the type that will be changing document and be using other people's name to work. It was never in my character. I was not brought up that way. So I was thinking of the next thing to do. In all of this, the way the whole work permit to work. I think I was given 5 years. Within that 4 years, I think I was meant to, when you get to the 4th year, you're meant to apply for your indefinite leave to remain in the UK, right? So people advise me, the way you can go about it, you have to do this, you have to do that. All of that were not aligning with my strong values, right? I was brought up in such a very strong Christian value, never to cook books, never to lie. Those moral values were really very apparent in my home bringing, and I was so very conscious of those things that my parents and my siblings taught me while growing up. So I just woke up one day, and now in that process, I had quite a number of friends then, that will come and visit me in the UK, who went to the same secondary school together, and they were doing extremely well in Nigeria. And I was like, why do I have to sit here in UK just because, all for the sake of, I want to be abroad and all of that? I just woke up one day and told my siblings and all my, that, I'm going back to Nigeria. It was a tug of war. My parents were like, you knew what you went through when you had the accident, to go and do what again? We can work something out around your paper and all of. I said no, that I was going back to Nigeria. Then I could hear people saying, oh, don't mind, they are using remote control to bring it back home. All manners of things and all of that. But I said, one thing that I was really so very sure of was, one, I was really so sure that God was leading me to go back to Nigeria. What I was going to do at that point, at that particular time, I was already thinking of one or two things to do. One of it was to start a printing and branding company in Nigeria. Anyway, I left. If I find myself in that situation today, where I've had it differently, yes, I will say yes. Because honestly, that time I came, I honestly didn't know that Nigeria was really going to get this very bad, right? And having a second passport then was the joy of everyone. In actual fact, I think everybody in my family has a second passport apart from me, but I wasn't just too particular about that passport. One thing I was so sure of, if I needed to come back to this country, I know somehow that God was going to bring me back. Anyway, so I left with just very small money I was able to save to come and start a printing company. I started the the printing company. And it was tough because I think I've been out of the system a very long time. I wasn't used and conversant the way businesses are done. There wasn't any mentor to even speak to. There wasn't, apart from the very few friends that have asked me to come back to Nigeria. There was a particular commissioner in Rivers State that said, "Oh, come back to Nigeria, we'll give you stuff to do." I came back, except the guy will pick my call tomorrow. Typical Nigerian politicians and the way they talk. Anyway, I got a very massive contract. It was a major one with when Segun Oni was the governor of Ekiti State. But it was a job that was related to politics. I think they asked me to do some project around putting that compendium in terms of achievement and all of that together. A very massive one. The funniest thing, it was a week after, I don't think I was given any upfronts. It was a week after I delivered the job that they removed Seboni as the governor, and that's when they brought, Fayemi that they brought to power. Fayemi is an APC man, so there was no way an APC government would be paying for a job of a PDP
done by PDP. My God.
And so there was no way they could pay my money. And that's all the money I brought, everything I've saved in my life went down the drain. But that was like a turning point in my career. That was a turning point in my life. That was actually enough for me to commit suicide, right? Because practically I was left with nothing.
Yeah.
But there was something that I had to fall back on, which was my certificates. Right. So I know, as people have advised us as an entrepreneur, it's good to do business. Yes. But always ensure that you have a something to fall back to. So there was no money again. I mean, at that point I was cutting with my auntie, and it was extremely hard to the extent that I would get home, they won't give me food. It was really very tough. But somehow, I moved to my own accommodation then in I think somewhere in Sherry and all of that. A 2-bedroom. For a very long time, there was nothing in that apartment. Just barely nothing. It was just maybe the dining set I brought from the UK, a camping bed that a friend of mine gave me to be sleeping on. I was in that apartment for like a year. Things were extremely very tough. But all of that have taught me nursing. And let me tell you one major lesson that I learned through that experience. One day I needed to go to the hospital. I was broke. There was nobody to give me money, right? Then I went to the streets and I was basically begging for harm, right? This is, the way they say it in Yoruba, Omotonile, Olona, and all of that, with everything around. But of course, my parents never knew that I was going through all of this. By the time I stopped one or two people, "Oh, please, can you spare me some change?" and all of that, I didn't know when tears was rolling down my eyes that is it me that was doing this and all of that. Anyway, by the time I approached one or two people, they're like, "No, this is just one of those problem people. There's nothing that is wrong with this guy. Just he don't look like someone that is sick and all of that." Anyway, so I needed to walk to the hospital because I was extremely sick, right? I couldn't get money to take bike. So eventually I trek. I think it was almost about 2 hours trek. I trekked to the hospital. After I've gone through all the treatment and all of that, I asked the nurse. They asked me to pay. I said, "No, sorry, I don't have any money to pay. Can you spare me some change and all of that?" I think eventually she gave me 500 naira to take it back to my house. Second day, I think some money came in. I went back to the woman and gave her maybe 10,000-15,000 naira and all of that. But I said, I think when the disappointment of the printing came in, I started a job with Dana here. Then I think it was a group of company, Dana, they're into pharmaceutical, airline, and all of that, as HR was reporting to the head of was just a starting point. And that was like a defining moment in my career, right? Because the line manager that I was reporting to was God sent to me. Apparently, during the interview, well, "Oh, Stephen, you're such a very smart individual." I said, "Yes," and all of that. Then second day onto the job, or third day, I can't remember. I think I was meant to come in as as a senior HR officer or assistant HR manager or something like that. I can't remember. And he just come into his office and said that it's like the role that we offer you is below your experience. I mean, I've never heard that before. And within a space of 3 days into the job or thereabout, he elevated me to deputy, I think assistant head of HR or something like that. 3 weeks into my job, right? But while I was on that job, one thing I was really so very determined to do was to ensure that I was able to go above and beyond the call of duty. So you see people complaining on their career today, oh, I'm not getting promotion, the salary that I'm getting is not enough, right? What are you doing that other people can't do? You have to be able to think outside the box in the course of your career. If you want your employer to be able to recognize your efforts and all of that, you definitely have to do differently. One major thing that I was able to do for them was, an entire recruitment process, the process of sourcing for people. I was able to create excellent candidate experience when they came in for interview. In a space of 2 months, right? Most of the roles that they gave me to do, right, without even a sourcing of those roles, I was able to fill some of those roles seamlessly without a single cost to the company, which was, a lot of things that gave me a lot of commendation, both the management and every member of the management team. Then I think 8 months into the job, I left to a luxury company. I won't mention their name. The top luxury company in Nigeria today. So when these are companies that when it comes to watches, you see watches of $300,000, $500,000 and all of that. I joined them as the head of HR. I got a salary that was almost like ×3 or ×4 of what I was earning on my previous job, right? But even when I got into the job, I came with a mindset of what can I do differently, right? Which is a lot of things that people, when they get to their job, they usually don't even make effort, right? The workplace, the place we work, or the working environment today has evolved over the years, that people really want to pay for talented people. It's not just about doing a job or basically doing the basic things. What makes you to be distinct from other people is about the various milestone, or as HR, are you able to even contribute to the top line and bottom line of the business, right? So I came into the job, very fantastic job with official car, a driver, and now at that point I've forgotten all the stress, all the hassles I went through, while trying to settle down in Nigeria, and even within the process, that of course I have visiting the UK again, but I was visiting this time as a visitor because of course the resident permit I had was already elapsed. I couldn't use it any longer. But however, I mean, I had access to visiting and I was going there regularly and all of that. Then while on the polo job, one major thing I did was I was able to leverage on a lot of networking. All right, I'm extremely very reserved individual. I basically don't even mix with people. But one thing I've realized why even growing my career is to ensure that I meet up with people, network with people, and that really pays me. Now, I spent, with this luxury company, I spent almost about 4.5 years with them. Those 4.5 years was really very tough. The kind of businesses where you could not even leave when the MD was still around and all of that. There are times I would close at 11 p.m. and all of, but because the pay was quite, attractive, I couldn't leave. So I try as much as possible to I brought a lot of, innovation around some of the things they did around, company culture. They have a very rich culture, training and development, capacity building. We're able to revamp the entire core values of the business. We ensure that people were well trained. The attrition rate that used to be extremely very high then, in a space of like 2 years, the attrition rate was extremely very low. And it became something very easy for me to attract people into the business. But of course, the workload was extremely very, very high. I was with them for like 4.5 years, but I didn't know that somehow God was preparing something very big ahead for me. So I think on the fourth year thereabout, which is another thing I'm going to discuss. I had an altercation with my line manager, the daughter of the MD. We just walk into the office. I think I sanctioned the driver, walk into the office, and she was just ranting. I was shouting, "How dare you guys, HR people, sanction my driver?" And the driver was right in front of me. And I'm like, basically, I wouldn't tolerate this kind of thing. If you want to talk or if you have an issue with me, just come into your office and discuss with me. So I felt so very hot that, somebody I've worked with for 4 years, you just come to open office and be shouting. I felt that was really very uncultural. I felt that was not even aligned with the kind of culture that the business was trying to practice and all of that. Lo and behold, I just closed the laptop and I went to the front reception. I dropped the laptop, the official card that was given to me. I left. I said, "You guys, please keep your job." Because I can get very emotional. I mean, that was there. I think I've been able to improve over my emotional intelligence and the way I react to things, right? I left without having a job. And my wife was, we just had our second baby in the US. There were a lot of hospital bills I was to pay. It was when I got home and I realized that what have I done? I was hoping that these people were going to call me back and say, "Oh, Stephen, we cannot allow you to go. Please, I waiting for this. Nobody called me." Like, wow, this is the end of it. Then my wife called, I think it was that evening, and said, "Oh, they just sent another bill. Oh, we have a bill of $1,000 to pay." I was like, wow, who asked me to go and resign? But as God will have it, there was a family business I could run to, which is one other another thing I would tell us, people on this you should have multiple streams of income. Don't depend on just one particular. The way the economic system of the world is today, right? One particular source of income can never be enough for you. So I joined this family business, but honestly, what they were paying me was just like what I was taking as my fuel and telephone allowance. But at least I have something to be able to keep me going. It's basically taking a 70% pay cut, but I think at that point in time, I've been able to find my ground in Nigeria. I've been able to network with a lot of people. Then I started making side money from recruiting and, recruiting for people. Once in a while, I go for public speaking. I get money and but 2 months into the family business job, right? Then I now got my present job, which I work now as the senior HR business partner. I've been with the company for like 7 years. But I mentioned that while I was at that luxury company, it was as if God was preparing something ahead for me, right? So while I joined this other company, which is basically, I mean, everybody Afri Global Group, the whole chain of businesses. They're into chemical, they're into medical services, they're into logistics, and all of that. Even the job I got was based on referral, which is also the power of networking, which I've mentioned to us earlier. But however, I started the job. The job was basically lesser than what I was earning before. But I think by the time they did my confirmation and all of that, they realized that, oh, this guy's his salary is low. They gave me something that is very attractive. I was happy on the job. I had my peace of mind. I was willing to grow with the business and all of that. Then from nowhere, the MD of a streetwear brand just called me. "Oh, Stephen, somebody gave me your number. Can we have a discussion?" and all of that. I went, and we started talking, and I took him through all the experiences I've had around the luxury retail, some of the part-time jobs I've done in the UK with the very big brands like the Harrods, Strategies, Gap, Arquette. And and the guy made a comment and said, people like you are very hard to find in Nigeria, with the relevant experience within the luxury retail, that you are meant to be their consultant. I said, yeah, I mean, I can do that as a side hustle. But you know, the funniest thing, what he offered me to be paying was even more than my paid employment. And this was meant to be a side job, not even my regular job, right? You know, so I started on retainership, and even in the course of even doing this job, one thing this is a business that by the time I joined, you know, the staff strength was just about 4. But I knew where the business was going. I knew what they wanted to achieve. And I put in my best to ensure that they were able to achieve those things. Today, you know, this side job, you know, has almost a staff strength of almost about 85, with almost a revenue base of more $10 million a year, right? You know, the first thing, I still have my regular job I do. This second job, what they pay, my regular job cannot even pay me, right? Some of us at the management level, they pay in Forex, right? And you have virtually all the benefits that typical people, even in oil and service company, get. It was then and I realized that when I was at the other luxury retail, I was going through all the headache and all of that. When I said that God was just basically preparing me for something bigger, it was then and I realized that yes, this was what God was preparing for me. And you know, the funniest thing, ever since the COVID period, right, where a lot of businesses have embraced hybrid working, right? That has given me a lot of opportunities to consult for a lot of luxury retail. In Lagos today, honestly, if you mention the top luxury retail in Lagos or in Nigeria, there is none of them that I don't consult for or have one business relationship of the other, right? It's basically like a handhouse when it comes to luxury retail, you know, consulting. I virtually work for all of them, right? So when I look back today and you know, went through every pain, I've gone through the career and all of that, somehow I've been able to see how I've been able to build my career. Basically rose from nothing to, you know, what I'm doing today. I basically sit on there are about 2 to 3 companies I sit on their board and an HR advisor. All of these I've been able to achieve just because I know that I was particularly staying focused on all the places I've worked. I was able to build. I'm the type that leverage on a lot of, you know, networking, make a lot of friends, and usually you see me always wanting to learn more. I mean, even with all the second degree and all of that, I'm presently still taking a course with the University of Liverpool on international and human resource management, and quite a number of even other certifications that I know that, you know, I've been able to embark on. Right. So that's so far. So you can see how I've been able to turn all the challenges and all the issues I face, even in the face of my career, right from, you know, the one that will say after 2 weeks or thereabout on the job, they ask you to go, to one that will say, oh, sorry, you are no longer required there. All of that today, I've been able to learn a great lesson working for some of those businesses. You know, so in rounding up, one major thing a few things I just put down here just as a takeaway for us to be able to put down. You know, you can go back to once in a while and just even reflect of the need for us to be able to build on your past experience. Now, the past experience that I had in that Fox luxury retail business is actually what is helping me in my career today, right? That even if I am not in a paid employment, I have quite a number of businesses today that I'm on their retainership and that they pay me and they pay me very good money, right? Also, in the process of growing your career, right, you ensure that you have people that you look up onto. Ensure that you have mentors that are able to advise you, mentors that you can talk to, mentors that you're able to run or bounce a lot of ideas off. Also, before you take any decision, you know, weigh the pros and cons of your decision. Don't take any decision irrationally. I know the way the level of pressure in Nigeria is today. a lot of people really, just want to take irrational, decisions and all of that. And one other thing I think I forgot to mention is, even apart from, I mentioned that, 4 years into my, resident permit, I went back when I was meant to get my indefinite leave to remain, which to everyone was a big deal. But today, I have a resident permit in the UK, but the virtual law, my wife works in the UK as a medical doctor. So all I do is just to shuttle between Nigeria and UK. And there are quite a number of institutions in the UK today that I go to speak, basically at most of the universities, especially, the way most of these Western worlds are. There are a lot of Black people in some of these universities that easily get discouraged. So I go to speak to some of these institutions, especially to Black people, on the need for them not to really be discouraged. And what I do most time is to be able to use my experience to be able to tell a story for these people. And it's something I do from time to time. Also, quite a number of government-owned institutions like the Nigerian Port Authority, a couple of times, I've even taken me internationally to be able to speak to their management team on a lot of things: leadership, performance management, building a very enduring culture, and all of that. So when I look back and see all of this that I've been able to achieve, honestly, for me, everything I went through has been like a blessing in disguise. Things I look back and say, oh, this can only be God, right? Of course, I mentioned the powers of focus also in the process of trying to build your career or grow, or even if it's entrepreneurial stuff that you're doing, ensure that you stay focused. There will be a lot of distraction. There will be a lot of promises. Like the commissioner that promised me will come to Nigeria. Honestly, up to now, the commissioner have not even picked my call. So people will promise you and all of that. But the most important thing is just stay focused. Don't be distracted. Also, never stop learning, right? Look for every opportunity to learn. Like, this is a platform, and I give kudos to Mr. Timitope Aloba, to be able to provide this kind of platform for people to be able to share their stories, for us to be able to learn from one another. And how do you utilize those knowledge gain from this kind of platform? Also, okay, I mentioned about learning. Beware when it's time to progress, even in whatever you do, right? People that have helped you in the past, never forget those people, right? Don't ever forget them, because you never can know when you will get back to those people to request for one help or the other. And the funniest thing, even the person that I mentioned to you some time ago that shouted at me and all of that, today, in fact, there's no day that this person doesn't even call me, the end of the business. Oh, Stephen, what can you do for us? Right? So that's the way relationship and all of that are built. That's the way you keep relationship. Stay focused, eliminate distraction. Don't allow anything to distract you. The economy today is not too exciting, but honestly, in the midst of economy downtown today, a lot of businesses are cashing out. The funniest thing, the luxury retail I mentioned to you that that is my second job. This is a business that is doing almost about $10 million a year. If I tell you what, the MD of this business is not even up to 30 years. He started selling clothes right from the boot of his car. And today, he has a staff of almost about 100. And now, we're at the process of even starting the UK and South Africa business operation at the age of 29. Right? He has been able to build a business empire. You've seen that when everybody's going to bed 9, 10 o'clock, is in the office trying to see how to revamp or even innovate the whole luxury retail industry in Nigeria. It's gotten a lot of accolades from Forbes. A lot of international bodies today have been able to recognize, to be able to organize it. There's a lot that we can do, that we can achieve. There is the talent in us that God has embedded in our lives that we can capitalize on. There is no one today, as far as I'm concerned, if you focus or you aim at something that you can achieve, as long as you're able to have those things written down, go back to those plans once in a while, review those plans, have a mentor that you speak to, and also don't ever forget the power of networking. Whatever I've been able to achieve today has been through friends, colleagues, or referrals. All of that has been able to help me in my career. That's all I've got to say. I will leave that to Mr. Temitope Aloba to conclude. Thank you very much, everyone.
Wow.
It's been a pleasure speaking to everyone today.
Interesting. What a journey. Wow. 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 All I can say is actually wow. To be honest, this is a beautiful journey. This is a beautiful journey, but I'm so happy for you because that is something that I feel you have that has really worked for you over a long time. Is the fact that yes, yeah, I know you mentioned that you were raised with some, good values, and one of those good values is ability to, faith to have faith in God. I'm sure that is very, very strong for you because um you could have thrown in, you could have probably got discouraged and, delve into some things that we completely shift you from the purpose that God has created. Because I saw, as we were talking, I see all of this journey, as um a kind of shift, right, to the purpose for which God has created you. You may see HR as a job, but I think it has gone beyond a job for you. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like, you see, because uh, how would you, what will you have to tell those guys that you go to different universities around the world to speak to if you have not gone through this journey, right? And if you have also not stayed in that place of, staying in the process, trusted the process, and develop spiritual stamina and ability to withstand those pain, what could have become of not just you, but so many lives that God has used you and your story to share. I am so convinced that even as we are talking, God really wanted it to be. You understand? Before this started, I narrated to you how we came to a conclusion that you should come and speak to us. So that is still God working, right? Beautiful. I can see some reactions in the room. Thank you for such an interesting story. That from DK. Larry Koma, it's indeed a journey worth listening to. Thanks, Stephen, for delivering this session. Thank you so much. From Bumi Adegbola, wow, thanks for sharing your experience with us. Thank you, Bumi, for that. Yeah, okay. Of course, you were shocked that they didn't call you back. So sorry, sir. That's DK. Yes, you see, even that, I was going to, talk about that. There is a reason. I'm sure a prevailing power, kind of, how will I put it, a superior force prevail on whoever that should have called, because you told us in your story how much value you have impacted, how much value you have delivered, how much transformation that has taken place. If I'm not mistaken, that's why you say you turn around so many things, talking about their culture and all of that. Am I correct? Yeah, yeah. So there
You're
is
right.
no reason, there is no reason why they shouldn't have called you back. As in, you were not bad. And I'm sure you left also, of course. Sometimes you have to test your popularity and test your value. Yeah. But you see, that test, you probably you got the right answer, but you thought it's a negative answer. Because at the end of the day, the same person is still in the business with you. So God really allowed that to happen. Even look at the circumstances that led to you leaving, which was very, very genuine, a decision you made, because that was actually completely disrespectful. But in your mind, you didn't really intend to leave. You just wanted to make some statement that, look, this thing is wrong, and you were hoping that you were going to be called back. But God did not allow that to happen, because He wanted to show you, the worth of uh, uh, things you were carrying, right? And also use you as a channel to open doors for other businesses, gaining from your wealth of experience and building you towards the real thing that he created you and gave you all the chances he has given you to work in those places that you have been able to work. I am so elated to listen to your story, and I'm sure, from their reactions, audience also are very, very happy. Let me quickly go through the reactions again, the ones I've not been able to touch. Yeah, very insightful experience. Thank you, Dima. Thank you, Dima. So thank you, Stephen, for sharing your experience. Thank you, Mr. Stephen Afon, for insightful and amazing session. That's from Emmanuel. And from Ogoluwa Balogun. What a journey to learn from. Thank you. Fumilayo Tumule, thank you for the platform. I am really blessed. Thank you, Fumilayo, for that. And Eyumofe say, if there is one thing I learned today, it is to have mindset of what can I do differently. Yes, thank you. Exactly. What can I do differently? Just make some, learn to live to make difference. Yeah, that's what sets us apart. Somebody was asking a question today. What differentiates a man from a boy? Is it age? Is it experience? Is it responsibility? And what is it? What do we even call maturity? And I think one of the things that our speaker have been able to, reveal to us today, all that we can get or gain or glean from all that you have spoken about is pointing to maturity, stability, conviction, and purpose. Yeah. MSA, thank you so much for sharing your experience. It was an insightful session. The major lesson learned: always do things differently in any job you find yourself, because it will always come back. It will come back. I was telling some people, some days, or let's say a few weeks ago, that the job you have right now, God has hand in it, whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not. Some people have, depending on their journey or their closeness or relationship or intimacy, the level of intimacy they have with God. Some people got a job that they already were kind of foretold, maybe in the process of prayer, in the process of going through issues, and you get close to God and God is beginning to show you vision that you are going to get a job. And God did it and it happened. It has happened to me. Yeah. I was in a place where I was going to change career, and I started refusing job, and the person that God used for that job is there today. So because I just got tired of some kind of jobs I've been doing. I was like, no, I'm not going to do this job again. In fact, in the midst of that, I almost, because the job I was looking for to get was not forthcoming, so I almost bowed to pressure, and go back to the same job I said I was going to. And the person saw me at a particular interview in his organization, and he said, Alaba, what are you doing here? I thought we had a discussion. What are you doing here? So immediately he said that thing. In the midst of everybody waiting to be interviewed, I just carried my daughter and I left. So trust the process. And you also made mention about the role and the importance of mentor. I'm going to come back to that. Yeah. God will plant people in your life that you should be able to look up to those people. And while those people are talking to you, you should be able to sense the voice of God, or the sign that God is probably using these people. There's no point submitting to anybody that you will not be able to, listen to. Of course, we will also talk about how to differentiate between the real mentor and mentor. I don't know if you've had that experience, because I would like our audience to learn as much as they can in making, adjustments in their career and require changes where when needed, based on all that you have shared with us. Yeah, from my friend Chindamilare Victor, so everything is possible for those who believe. Yes, I agree with you. I can relate as someone who resigned twice from a job without having another. Thanks for being vulnerable, Mr. Steven. Loads of lessons. Great job to you. Thank you so much, Chindamilare Victor. You are absolutely correct. Queen said, I will appreciate if such link is shared earlier. Glad I joined before it was done. He was done sharing his experience. Thank you, Queen. And also, sorry, yes, I agree with you. Yes, I agree with you. In fact, I will hold someone responsible for that, but of course, that's why I had to share to that group. Thank you for that. Don't worry, there's a recording of this session. We're also going to make that available shortly after the session. Looking forward to more insightful sessions. Sure, Queen. Thank you. And that's one of the participants from our HR management training, diploma training that is ongoing. Probably before the end of this session, we'll also share more, insights with you about that, because you see, everything comes down to learning, knowledge. And when we say knowledge, we're talking about information. Information about what? There's some real information that you don't get to listen to until you get into places like this, and even sometimes you have to pay for them. So okay, that is all that I have for reactions from some of our participants. So let me quickly go back to, I don't know if any one of us have any question. Please, if you have any question, we may not be able to take your question through coming live to ask the question. You can just put it in the chat room so that we can read it straight from here, and our guest speaker will do justice to that. Interesting story about how you moved to the UK, then getting recruited while in school. Please, can you share a little bit about this? And how do you think, I used to hear the story of how those days when you graduated from any school, I'm not even sure it was university system at the time, maybe from 4 or from something, that people they will give you a job, give you a car and all of that. So this getting recruited while in school, is this still happening in the UK? And
yes. So
what do you think we can do as a country to come out of this unemployment crisis to a point where we'll be so desperate that we are telling other nations to say we have so much jobs that we cannot we need people to do, and to the point of going to school to go and recruit people. Please, can you share a little bit?
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Timotokwe. So basically, school recruitment is something that is really very, especially in the Western world. Some of the very good schools do have a lot of top companies that come to them to recruit. So in the process of even selecting the school that you want to go to, I think it's very important that you do a lot of research to find out, the rating of those schools. I just mentioned to you not too long ago that, I'm presently doing another master's degree in HR. But I did a lot of finding research about that school just to find out what their milestone has been, what their history and pedigree has been to the. So up to now, even a lot of institutions in UK, there are a lot of big companies, Barclays, HSBC, Deloitte, most of the big multinational go there, and they go there because of the reputation of the school, which is why I said that, there's a need for you to be able to do a very thorough research about the school, because the mistake a lot of people make, especially Nigerian, when they're going abroad, is they just want to leave the shore of Nigeria, right? Yeah, they're not too particular about, which school they go to, right? So that is really very important. I know the school fees and all of that can be slightly on the high side, but I would rather pay that extra fee
Yeah.
for, to be able to attend some
Value.
of those high pedigree school. In fact, I know some universities today that even if they don't come to if you, for the mere fact that you have their names on your CV, open doors for you,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Because they don't compromise their educational standards, their values. I mean, if you talk about the Yale, Harvard, some of those Ivy Leagues today, they don't compromise their standard. Of course, we have some of those schools here also coming up in Nigeria. We have the Lagos Business School, the Pan-African University, Covenant University. Some of those universities, just that, the way the Nigerian economy is today, it makes it very difficult. But I'm still very confident that some of the top banks and all of that still go to the likes of FBS to go and recruit. I know that it's not really a common thing in Nigeria. So while you are even doing your 4-year course, or even if your postgraduate course that you're doing, right? You have to start having that entrepreneurial, develop that entrepreneurial spirit. Because basically what employer want is, they want people that are able to add to their bottom line. And the place of work today has really so changed that, I've been asking myself, in the next 5 years, what really happened. You see the introduction of the artificial intelligence today, right? Basically, everything you do in HR, writing JD, virtually everything you do. In fact, in my office today, right, when we're doing the induction, I've done it in such a way that everything is so very much automated that all I need to do is to, where we have everything recorded from the management team, everything that you have to go through your induction, right? Of course, the human element cannot be eliminated completely, because there's that experience that we need to give. But I'm just giving that, as things have evolved over the years, especially after the event of COVID, a lot of companies today are leaning towards a very niche structure, right? Because technology has been able to eliminate a lot of human thing that people can do, that technologies are doing for us. You can see the way the payroll system, a lot of companies today are even outsourcing their HR department, their payroll, right? So in order for you to be able to remain relevant, you have to find a way to continue to